As you know, we're doing the Heroes of Light project to really teach Ukrainian children how to deal with the trauma that they're dealing with. One of my good friends, Stanislav, Horuna, is a world champion in karate, was an Olympic medalist in karate, the only time it was ever in the Olympics, and of course from his competition days understands anxiety and stress. In addition to that, Stanislav's an attorney by training and very intelligent, even though most attorneys aren't. So what I'm going to do is ask Stanislav some questions so he can kind of discuss what's happened. As I said, we may tease each other a little bit, but you may be able to learn. Like when you were going into the Olympics, as you were getting ready to go, it's the first time the karate was ever in the Olympics in history. Were you anxious even going to it? Did that make you nervous?
Oh, that was a long way to be nervous. It was like 2 years before, and with one extra COVID year because that was postponed. So during all that time, we were feeling stressed and worried because there was a huge, insane race for the qualification points, and we had like 22 qualification tournaments during that period, 2 years period. So it's like every month, literally, we had 1 or 2 travels outside the country. So, and all their events were hosted all over the world. So every 2 weeks you travel somewhere to fight for the important for you qualification points. So we had the anxiety for 3 years. And then when I qualified, I had just maybe a little rest before the Olympic Games. And then again, of course, the culmination of the stress, of this long way was all concentrated in Japan in the Olympic Village. And that was so stressful that you could literally feel the electricity in the air, because being there among other athletes under the scope of the whole world, the whole world was watching Olympic Games, and especially all karate world was following the Olympic Games, and there were only 10 people in each category qualified for Olympic Games. And it's so exhausting to be in the middle of the tension of the whole world.
Did you get a break? I mean, because, you guys are fighting for qualification, because if you don't qualify, you don't get to go anyway.
Exactly.
From the time you qualified and went, okay, now you got the points, I'll be able to go, did you have at any point in time where you could go, and then you went, oh my God, I'm going to the Olympics tomorrow? I mean, was there a changeover in the 2 stresses?
Well, yeah, because we had 2 challenges, right? The first one is to qualify,
right?
And then when you did it, you were like, I felt like temporary release. But then again, when you start after you come back from that last tournament, when you realize that you are already qualified, and you got to the first training, then you start to realize that everything starts from the beginning.
Right.
But now it's the final race, final sprint.
Right.
Till that day, and it's another level of stress. That's it.
So once you get to the Olympics, competition starts.
It's like, sorry to interrupt you. So first,
no, you're not. You're never sorry. You're never sorry to interrupt me.
For qualification period is like a race,
right?
And then after you win that race, you understand that you are the one who has no choice. You just have to win, right? But it's imaginary responsibility,
right?
Because anyway, you are by yourself, and you are responsible for your performance. Nobody depends on you, but everybody relies on you,
right?
And you represent not only your country, yourself, your club, your coach. You represent, as we have the individual sport, so you represent the image that you have in the eyes of all of your fans.
Right.
You know, so that's the name.
You actually have fans.
I have. That's the blessing, and that's the
the curse. Well, and that's one of the things that actually adds stress, because you have to do it for yourself, but you have your fans going, yes, we want you to do this for us.
Yeah.
So it adds stress too. So it's kind of like a kid is, dealing with this and dealing with the stress of what they're having, and they're worried about their parents and how the parents are going to feel. Versus if they focus on themselves and their stress, the parents' stress will be lessened. So probably by going into the event, you thought more, okay, I've got to do what I have to do. Not I'm going to let people down, but I have to do what I have to do.
Yeah, and that was by the way, the solution to that stress.
Yeah.
So I focused on the things I have to do.
Right.
I tried to abstract from all these imaginary things, right? And I focused on exact things that I have to do. So I had the plan for each fight.
Right.
And
well, that's one of the things we were talking about, that when there's stress there, or when there's something that causes trauma or fear, it is that unknown that's causing the fear. So when you address it and say, okay, now I know what it is, and you can actually look at it. So as you're going forward, you get to the medal rounds, which, you're sitting there going, okay, I made it to this point. If I don't win one of them in the medal rounds, I walk away with nothing. Mm-hmm. What thought went through your head then? I mean, did that bother you at all, or did you say,
I was just stuck to the plan.
Okay.
And
So
I didn't even hesitate. So I knew that I cannot accept the option of losing. I just have to win. And so to win, I have to do this, this, and this. So I was focused completely on that things. And when stepping on the tatami,
mm-hmm.
I had only like few things in my mind. So I completely distract myself from anything else, to keep that plan in my head.
So kind of like in the situation the kids would be dealing with, they need to focus on something.
On something one.
Yeah, the one thing, and focus on that.
Focus on that.
Now handle that issue, and a lot of this will become substantially clearer.
Yeah, by the way, education can be a good solution for that. So when you start, that's the time when you can start learning something.
Mm-hmm.
That's the healthy way of escapism. Because you distract yourself from the anxiety, but you redirect your energy, that stress, into something useful,
Right.
so you can learn the things that are interesting for you. So
Yeah, we were laughing before, and I said, when you first competed, the stress level had to be massive the very first competition you were ever in, but you learned to address that.
mm-hmm.
And by understanding how to address it, the next time you're at competition, that stress is not there. Now, maybe a different stress next time.
It's always different. Once you manage with one stress,
there's a new one.
there is a new one.
Yeah.
Because it's all about our, psychology.
Right.
So you solve one problem, another one appears. Something that is more deeper than the first one.
Is the stress from outside, or is it from inside? Is it our reaction to the situation?
That's the way how we perceive the situation.
Yeah. And that's really where the big thing is. And, it's funny. He and I talked about a lot of things. A few years ago, was it 2 years ago, the European Championships?
Yeah.
So, as you can imagine, karate is a very individual sport.
2021, yeah.
So he comes out, and of course...
2023, sorry.
Yeah, because I met you...
A year and a half ago.
Yeah. It's an individual sport, but there's actually a team competition. And in the team competition, Stanislav is thinking that he's going to lead off, because he's the old guy of the group.
Now, I was put the first.
Yeah, but you thought you were going to lead off, right?
Lead off?
You were going to be the first.
No, I was put the last,
Yeah.
and I was expecting, my guys will win or lose.
Oh, okay.
So I will have no fight.
No stress.
No stress. But then...
Well, because his buddies took care of him, it was tied going into his match. And it's an interesting situation where it's not just for yourself, other people are depending on you so much. And again, this is like a child is in a family. you know your parents are depending on you, so you add additional stress instead of focusing on the task at hand, which is to pretty much take care of yourself, take care of what you have to do.
Yeah. Not only take care of yourself, take care of the guys.
Yeah, and that takes care of
the
it.
family, of the everybody. But that's again, you know the things you have to do.
Right.
And focus on them.
And you kind of replicate that each time whenever you're in that type of stressful situation.
Yeah, so actually any type of stress that appears must mobilize your focus, your attention into one spot and don't let you to distract from that. So that's the way, because anxiety cannot last long. So till that time, during that time you should be focused on something until it finishes.
There's the question I never asked him. I told him beforehand I was going to ask him, and I make fun of him all the time, and he calls me old all the time. So we're even. You did Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah.
See, I got it. See? Again, we have.
Why is it necessary for you to shame me all the time?
Because I get even with you. A kid is dealing with, separation anxiety from friends, the trauma of air raid sirens here, all these type of things. So they're different traumas. So world-class athlete, world champion in things. And you go into Dancing with the Stars, which is totally different for you. What was that like to prepare for? What was the anxiety of that?
Oof, that probably was the biggest stress than the Olympic Games.
Right.
Because why? At the Olympic Games, I just had to perform something that I know how to do.
Right.
I did it for 20 years before that. But then dancing is something that I was like clearly amateur. Like
worse than me. Because I can't dance. So it's okay.
It even worse because I had that complex, of there are some guys on the disco, who don't dance.
Right.
They just stay.
Yeah, that would be me. That would be me.
And me. You and me. Me and you. So yeah, I was that guy who couldn't dance because of the stress. Right. Something blocked me. I was like, I wanted to be there. I wanted to dance, but something stopped me, and I couldn't find out what was that. And then when they invited me to that show, I had to dance, and not just to dance. I had to dance in front of the millions of viewers.
Right.
That was like extremely stressful for me.
I would have broken a leg. That way you didn't have to. But is that weird? Because again, think of the trauma with kids where they've addressed this trauma, now they know how to deal with that. You knew how to deal with the trauma of competition. This is a different trauma. So do you go through the same process and saying, okay, so if I'm really, really bad at this, nobody's really going to care. Just some old guy from America is going to eventually laugh at me, that's all. I mean, it didn't really matter. I mean, is that how you finally dealt with it? I mean, you've got a lot of pride. So I know it was like, I've got to do this. But how did you get over the anxiety to actually do it? Was it the fear of doing it was the problem? Once you got over being afraid of doing it, it was fine.
What helped me in that moment, my previous experience of bungee jumping.
Okay.
So there are some fears that you just need to face, and you need to not just face them and suffer, but face them and dare to be stronger than that fear. You need to have enough courage. So about bungee jumping. So when I was at the age before jumping, now I thought to myself, look, try to jump down and enjoy that fear. Dare to enjoy it. So face it and enjoy it. So when I was jumping down, I was like, with my eyes open, falling down, with the idea, let's go faster.
Gravity's going to make you do that, okay?
So once you dare to overcome your fear in that way, to get excited from that, then you will beat that
Right.
fear. And so this is what I did at that show.
Right.
So I was like blocked, but I understood that like if I don't do any move,
Right.
I would be ashamed,
Right.
and probably this is even worse.
Right.
So I dared to step out
Right.
on the dancing floor and do the first moves
Right.
in the way like I don't care.
Yeah.
Let's enjoy it.
Yeah.
Let's enjoy that. And also there is one more experience of mine from the childhood as well. We all fear the darkness. Not all, but most of us.
Right.
And when I was feeling that back in the days, I asked myself, well, we fear something that we don't know, right? And in the darkness, we think that there is something, but there is nothing.
Right.
But we think that there is something. So I imagined myself that I am that something that should be afraid, that others should be afraid of, So I became my fear. I put my fear on myself, and I became
Right.
fear of mine. Do you understand?
Yeah, exactly. No, and I hadn't thought about that. It actually makes sense. Because what are you afraid of? Nothing. Well, I'll become that thing I'm afraid of, so I'm not afraid of myself, so I'm not afraid anymore.
Yeah, something that is
Right.
there should be afraid of me.
That's right.
I'm more scary than my fear.
I am. Actually, most of the time I am. That's why I don't mouth off all the time, just part of the time. We decided to do this just off of the top of our heads.
Yes,
And-
what I wanted to say, there are just different mechanics of how to handle the fear and the stress. So you can imagine anything you want, because fear is just our perception of the situation.
Yeah.
And you can change it.
Yeah, it's how we look at it. I mean, people sit there and talk about, what's happening in Ukraine and the kids they're dealing with every day. As adults, we can think about it, rationalize it, etc., but you have to finally address it. So we have to make sure that all the kids understand that what they're feeling is normal. What Stanislav felt before competition was normal. What he felt before Dancing with the Stars, if you saw him dance, was normal. He should have been afraid. But, our fear is actually in our minds. And if we control our minds.
Fears.
Yeah,
Everybody has.
no matter what it is. Like, fear of mouthing off to him too much is a fear of mine. It's the other thing. We still have not gone to Gulliver. One of these days, I'm going to go to Gulliver and make fun of you with the star. He actually, there's a yeah, it's not going to work. He's going to mouth off. There's actually a large shopping plaza mall here, and they have various stars of Ukraine, and they actually have them there. I actually took a picture one day and said, "How did you buy this?" Because I couldn't figure out when they awarded it to him. Thanks, man.
Great.
And Stanislav's a big back of our project. Going forward, we'll probably use him for the teenagers. And if he can do it, I can't say this. If he can overcome his fears, anybody can. But hopefully it helped. So thanks, guys.